Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be looking it's time it's tier list season again. New set came out. 2022 tins. These tins came with a lot of very important reprints. So I'd like to get started with a deck that has changed, and that's Goki. Goki, in my opinion, I've completely give me a second, add a row below. And surely that won't end up in the video. Let's talk about Goki. Goki is in a weird position. I put it here, 1.5. And here's why. Many people have said this deck is tier 2. Some people have said this deck is tier 3. Look, when it comes down to it, how many people are main decking kaijus? Predaplant? Sure. Machine decks? Sure. Tenny? Sure. Lunalight? Yes. This deck is trash. Not literally trash, but like this deck is almost unplayable. Like in a meta like this, there is nothing worse than playing a Towers Turbo deck. Speaking on Towers Turbo, this is just Goki, but really bad. Like like really bad. Like expending your entire hand to make one Towers instead of expending 4 cards or 3 cards to make 2. Yeah, this deck is worse than bad. It probably shouldn't be on the list, but we have a trash tier for a reason. But these are just the 2 Premier Towers Turbo decks. The best one that could possibly exist is at tier 2. So that should tell you something about this format and how it reacts to Towers decks. Next up, we have Grand Maju. Grand Maju is an interesting place because Grand Maju is a decent deck. It's all right. It's just kind of a worse version of Layer of Darkness, which is the exact same thing, except you get to play Layer of Darkness. So, I guess if you don't like the Layer of Darkness cards, you can play pure Grand Maju, but I mean, come on. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone who hates the idea of tributing your opponent's monsters. And if you hate the idea of tributing your opponent's monsters, this probably isn't the format for you, considering how kaijus are main deck staples. Next up, Paleozoic. I rated this. I rated this trash last time. I think tier 3 is at a better place for it. I think this deck does have game. Canberra Raster is a very good monster. And, I think people underestimate how good just having a guy that in the graveyard protects any of your back row. That means this deck gets to play Skill Drain. This deck gets to play other floodgates that are good, like Gozen Match. I'm sure this deck gets to play. Floodgate and like stun strategies have been doing pretty well. Hell, stun won the last tournament. So I hope that maybe we'll even see some representation of this deck, topping a tournament. Melfi, still tier 1.5, slightly worse than I thought it was going to be, but the deck is still quite good. It is probably the best control strategy of Common Charity. You can kind of just do an infinite resource loop on your opponents, and it doesn't stop until you've run out of Melfi's in deck, which is usually never. Um, there have been some deck building philosophy changes over the last month or so that I've been playing the format. Um, we figured out that the other Vernisylphs besides Melting Snow are also pretty good, so we play those now. Turns out Upstart Goblin is a good card. Who knew? And you know, other good cards have been found. So I'm excited to see where this deck goes in the future, and I'm excited to see some tournament results with it. Megalith. This deck I heavily underrated before, and also low key, don't tell anyone, got kind of a boost with the new magic-y stuff. A lot of that's common now. None of the good boss monsters for Magic Gear are common, but you can still play the engine. Garrus Glosser's cool. You can end on that. And now, hey, this is a secret. This is a secret. You can play Garrus Glosser, get unblocking. You don't have to worry about skill drain anymore, which is this deck's main weakness. Maybe look out for this deck. I can see this bumping up to even tier 1 status if the tournaments match up correctly. Time Thief. Fairly good deck. I think that it is just kind of a weak tier, like rank 4 strategy that is just like worse than Lunalight, worse than Suship, worse than Clownblade. You know, it's weird. It's not something to take super seriously, but it's definitely a decent engine. Also, Redoer is the best card in the format, so, Symphonic Warrior. I'll put him a little bit above Paleozoic. I think this deck has kind of fallen out of favor, but I think it's still pretty decent. I just wish their boss monster synchro did anything. It kind of just sits there. It's a beat stick. That's mostly the problem with the deck. There's a low payoff. They do find lethal pretty easily, though. Suship. The big rank 5 was reprinted. So I'm going to say it. Better than Time Thief. Hey, better than Time Thief. I'm saying it. The deck is pretty decent. Top of tier 3. I like that it has access to basically Forbidden Droplet with the new Synchro. I like that it can close out games super easily. 29 direct is nothing to scoff at. And I don't have to worry about um like not being able to make something if like under skill drain because the level 5 ship can only activate on field. So, it's exciting. Next up, Scrap. Bang, tier 1. Really, really good deck. Hey, everything still loses to Tikaboo. What can I say? Nothing to say. Unfortunately, I gotta say it. Deck's bad. I gave everyone false hope. I tried playing it. I lost so many times. Deck's just not good. Splight is it's just not good, unfortunately. It's not good because there's no real payoff for playing the strategy over Paleo. You just play pure Paleo with like Needlebug Nest, and it's just better, which sucks. But it is what it is. Next up, Winged Beast. It's a fun deck. Featherstorm is like the best floodgate ever printed, best hand trap ever printed. So but if you don't draw the big Featherstorm, your end board is going to be looking like DD Crow, like 2 copies of DD Crow, which would be good in a Splight format or a tier element format. But we are not in either of those, so take everything this deck does with a grain of salt. If it draws the Featherstorm, it can definitely beat like Megalith, beat Goki. You can beat Melfi. You can beat probably none of the tier 1 decks, but a lot of the tier 1.5 and below decks, Featherstorm just beats. But if you don't draw your 3 of Harpy Featherstorm and 3 of Trap Trick, you do just lose the game because there's no end board for this deck. Bang. Yeah, this deck's dog shit too. I was coping with some Destiny Hero build. It's just not good. You could just play pure Destiny Hero now since Denier's legal. So, just figure out a pure Destiny Hero build. Don't play with your element. FA. You know what? For now, it has better tournament results than Megalith in recent times, so I will give it higher than Megalith, but I don't think the deck is actually better than Megalith, especially with the new Magic-y stuff. But FA is an interesting deck. It looks very complicated. It's not actually that complicated. Macrocosmos is a good card. Um, Motorhome is a pretty good card. I think I like that. I like that it's their back row is quite good. Test run specifically is very strong. I hope to see more from this deck in the future. There's not much else to say, really. Bang. Layer of Darkness. It's just a better version of Grenmaju. Not that much better, though. The virus cards pretty much ice out Melfi, and it hits Predaplant too. But other than the virus cards, there's not a huge payoff to playing this. So you have to play like Grenmaju, which is cool, but it's not like that game winning. It's like flip Raigeki break, target Grenmaju. It's like, well, I lose. I have no way to close this game out, which sucks. But I think the deck has enough like stun potential and stalling that you can usually close out a game. Bang, Predaplant. Better than Scrap, still tier 1. I don't think it's the best deck anymore. I'll tell you why later, but yeah. Predaplant is still very, very good. Super Polymerization is very, very good. The whole combo line, you can just go through it. And again, I will say, very, very good. I'm glad that we can finally say that there isn't like there's like huge buffs to the meta. Morphtronic. Probably better than the Layer of Darkness. So is Goki. Is Goki better than Morphtronic? Yeah. Probably like this. Morphtronic is better than the Layer of Darkness and Grenmaju, but it's still just like a big wombo combo deck that ends on Landois. Having a bunch of monster negates is cool, and it's something that not a lot of other decks do in this format until recently. But it's still just a bunch of monster negates, so when your opponent slaps down Dark Hole on your board, you do lose the game immediately. Also, the virus cards that most decks are siding nowadays with Virus Swordsman and the virus cards. Wait, are they intended to work together? Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. Virus Berserker. Wait, what the fuck? That's insane. Are are they meant to do that? Like you go deck dev, tributing virus. That's wild. Yeah. Um, but yeah, deck dev also really damages this deck. What you don't have access to Telephon for 3 turns, they will kill you. Hero. Bang. No. No. Sure. I think Macrocosmos is still in a pretty good place this format, so Darklaw's good. I think that Gandiva is also in a pretty good place this format. Excalibur's a decent OTK tool, but other than that, Hero hasn't gotten a lot of new stuff, and it hasn't been doing very well at tournaments. So, I have to put it at tier 2. Burn. This is another pretty competent deck. I'm going to put it top of tier 3. I think it's better than Suship for sure. Again, the problem with this deck, auto loses to Royal Decree, but like, who's playing that other than me? Not many people are scared of Burn. But, flip Royal Decree. Draw Pankratops or lose Smile. Pankratops into 0 interaction also. And unless you're playing Marincess, it's not going to happen. Let's DDD, a deck I was testing. A very underrated deck. I put it about here on the tier list. I think it's better than Suship. Time Thief, I think it's better than Symphonic Warrior. It's a decent combo deck it ends on a board that beats all the stupid Floodgate stun decks, which is very fun. I like that I don't have to worry about any dumb floodgates when I'm playing this deck. You end on Kali-Yuga, which is a quick effect Harpy's Feather Duster. I like that we can finally stop worrying about, like, if I'm playing this deck, I don't have to worry about like the barrier statue or like the stun matchup. I can just sit there. They set 5 cards, end phase, Kali-Yuga effect, destroy all of them. Cyber Dragon. Low tier 3. I think it's a decent OTK deck, and I like that I don't have to super like it's an OTK deck that can kind of go first, which is important. I like to see it. But also I wish that we had Infinity. Infinity would be very cool in this format, and I wish we had it because we don't, and that sucks. That means there's no real turn one payoff for Cyber Dragon other than like Overload, which is the pop two, which if you're ending on Icarus attack and that's it, there's a problem. Dynamist. They're a worse version of Cyber Dragon. The only reason you would play this deck is if you wanted to care less about monster negates, which is why I said that it was good. But now that Predaplant is not as mega represented as last tournaments, like at the last tournaments they were, um, Dynamist is no longer a very good meta option. Bang. Dragons. This deck makes Coach King Giant Trainer and then draws 3 cards. You're just looking for hand traps. You just want to draw into hand traps. You want to go like end on like Ash, Valor, and like next turn you can OTK with like the Tachyon Dragon. You know, nice dream, but one, have to actually draw the hand traps. Two, the hand traps need to have impact. And three, they need to have 0 disruption set up for you to do this, which is not huge. It's not a great place to be in. But, they also have other strengths. The making rank 8s is pretty good. And they're definitely the best rank 8 turbo deck that exists, which is something I can't say for other decks I've covered, like Blue Eyes. Bang, Lunalights. Well, sorry. Best. I don't think it's tier 0. It's not actually even close to tier 0. The deck is good, obviously. It's the best deck, but Predaplant, Scrap, Tenny still definitely compete. Speaking of Tenny, let's just get the obvious pick out of the way. Tenny, if you want to debate me or debate anyone on why I think Predaplant is better than Tenny, just hop in the Discord. I'll do it. But like, I just think ending on a bunch of monster negates is better than going second with 1 lava golem. I just think it's better with like a 3 of lava golem and like Vishuda, which is not. It's not like I'm losing it or something. That if you think Tenny is better than Predaplant, it's not like the worst opinion, but it's I heavily disagree, and I'd be willing to have a conversation about that. But anyways, Tenny is still obviously a very, very good deck. We are actually still figuring out some new techs, which is very good. Fables. Wombo combo synchro deck, except it's worse than Symphonic Warrior, and it's worse than FA, and it's worse than Morphtronic. So, can't be that good. It does have some unique payoffs. Cosmic Blazar Dragon, or whatever the Stardust thing is called, is a good card. You can end on, like, theoretically, you can end on Omni Negates, which is something no other deck has access to. But, like, if you draw that good, just play Lunalight and then kill me. Or, like, if you want to draw that good, you could play Exodia and just draw all 5 pieces and kill me. All right. Fiend Pile. Top of tier 3. Is it better than Burn? Probably not. This deck is pretty good. I think that people kind of undersell the Fiend stuff, like especially the Archfiend and like Cursed Necrofear stuff. But every single card from those like sets were printed in common, and you can set up some really nice resource loops with Terror King Archfiend, which is pretty cool. I enjoy that that's an option. And I also enjoy that Dante is common, which is a good thing. Machine, like Geargia stuff. We're gonna go. It's not trash because it's bad. If it was like based on just how strong the decks were, I would argue this is a little worse than Paleozoic. Unfortunately, Machina is just a better version of it. Machina is just a better version of it. Wait, no, it's the other way around. I'm completely incorrect. Geargia is the one that can go like gig into and then search, and then you just go through and you make the UFD or just UF. So it's probably a little better than Winged Beast. I'm bringing this shit down. It's better than Symphonic. A little worse than Suship. So Geargia is the good one. This one, strength wise, is tier 2, so tier 3, so I'm going to put it there. But it's just a worse version of playing regular Geargia. And, if you want to play an Earth Machine deck, it is an available option. Just don't pick the Machina version. Gravekeeper, funny. Not very good in this meta. They're the best graveyard interaction deck ever printed, which is. Give me a second. I need to the best graveyard interaction deck that is like ever existed ever in Dark Law Turbo, at least in this format, is not great. So setting up a Necro Valley is all still not good. Pendulum, bang, better than Melfi. I think that Pendulum is still untested, but I know it's good. I know this deck is good. Nobody is playing it, but I know it's good. Just somebody will surely test this deck other than the one person who keeps testing this deck. Secret Village. Or actually, it's Spellcaster Pile. This deck is crazy. This deck is crazy. Just it's hard to explain if you haven't played against it, but like you can do just so much with this deck. You can do whatever you want. It's like Wind Witch. All the Wind Witch cards were just reprinted in the 2022 Megathons, so you can just play whatever like Wind Witch cards you want. You can play Witchcrafter Golem or Ruru, which is just like a negate on a free summon, which is insane. 3,000 attack too. It's like this deck is very, very good. Just watch out for it. It's strong. With that being said, Trickstar Stun did win the last tournament. This deck is not good. This deck is not playable. It did win a tournament. People are not prepared for Barrier Statue Turbo, shockingly. And unfortunately, that means that people are not prepared for any type of stun strategy, is even in the side deck, especially one that doesn't rely on floodgates. For stun strategy, I usually pack things like Royal Decree, but I can't do that against a barrier statue. So that's why when I play DDD or what else, or Melfi, and I have no out to the barrier statue, I just sit there and I cry. There is nothing I can do versus this deck. If you're playing certain decks, just cannot beat this without side deck. And jeez, the DDD just does not have a normal summon over 1,000 attack, so you just cannot out barrier statue. It's impossible to do. Same thing with Melfi, and same thing with the decks like Paleozoic. Can't do it either. Or Splight. I don't think Winged Beast can do it. There's a lot of things. Now, into tier 3. Let's see. UA, better than Machina, better than Paleo, better than Winged Beast, better than Fabled, better than this guy, better than this, better than this, better than this, better than these guys. Probably better than this. Little worse than the Fiend Pile. I'll give you UA top of tier 3. Or like high tier 3. It's a pretty good rogue strategy, I will say. I think that this deck has a lot of potential to eventually be good if it gets the right reprints. Hyper Stadium or Midfielder would make this deck an instant tier 2 contender that could compete and top tournaments. Although this deck can already, you know what? Based on the fact that this deck did get second place in the CCCC, I will put it here. Meh. Oh, actually, it's definitely worse than these decks. Probably worse than Goki. Probably better than Morphtronic. I'll put it here. It's mid tier 2 because it did get second place at a tournament. Yeah, this deck is just pretty decent. You can play control games. You can OTK. There's a lot of options you can do with this deck. It's very you can vary your lines a lot. So it has good. It has like decent matchup, like playable matchups against every deck, which is not the same for a lot of the other good tier 3 or tier 2 contenders. Yosenju. It's another noob stomp deck. Just like Dynamist and these guys, they just kill anyone who is playing poorly. Yosenju is pretty decent. It's an okay deck, but don't get your hopes up that you're going to top a tournament with this because you are not going to do that. Bang, zombie. Just pure zombie. This deck is not very good. This deck is probably about here. There are variants in which zombie is good. Vampire is probably bottom tier 3, and like we are about to see, Skull Servant is also very pretty playable. But pure zombie is just like, why would you play this over the other two variants? Now we get to something that I'm going to have to debate with like 4 separate people on the Discord in. This deck, it's powerful. I like it. I think that this deck has a lot more potential than people realize, and I think I'm going to prove that when I top with it in the tournament in the future. I think I've played Beat Trooper for a year in advanced. I've played Beat Trooper in Master Duel since it dropped. I think I'm going to be the one to break this deck. I can't wait. I truly can't wait. I'm very excited to show off what this deck can do, and I'm very excited to give you a topping list. I suppose we have one deck left. The best deck that has ever been created. Skull Servant is truly the best deck that has ever been created by anyone ever. Whoever designed this deck in Konami, because they don't fucking credit any of the people who actually make their cards. They were truly the Albert Einstein of their generation. Big bungus beatdown, insane. Real talk though, it's like a fun deck. Don't you could take this to serious tournaments. It's kind of just like a slightly. When I say slightly, I mean barely edges out Grand Maju. But yeah, it's like a bottom tier 2. Don't tell. I guess Graph. Yeah. Just like don't tell anyone who's like, look, I know I'm wrong here, okay? Please give me some slack on this one. I need people to join the format. They see the meme image of the King of the Skull Serpent and they click the download link. Please let me have this. Thank you very much. Sorry for my rambling. It is 12 in the afternoon and I have been recording for a pretty long time, and it's hard. Tracking down 38 images is more difficult than you'd think. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you very, very soon. Trust me. The next upload is something you won't want to miss.